everybody. I call this park board meeting to order for Wednesday, September 4th.
I'll second.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 24th, or August 2024 meeting?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
So David first and Jake second. Have you guys had a chance to look over the claims?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the claims as submitted?
I'll make a motion.
Second it, as long as Scott promises to fulfill his word on explaining a couple of those costs.
We can mention that. Okay, moving on to new business. Scott, do you want to take over here with some new business?
Yeah, we don't really have anything new for this meeting. We talked a little bit last meeting about the possibility of doing a request for proposal for housekeeping services. Budget won't sustain that, so we've got to figure out some stopgap measures until possibly next year. So we'll need to advertise for our weekend position with the passing of Gary Cortorino. Right now, our guys are working overtime to cover that, so I want to stop that as quickly as possible. But I also want to be respectful of Gary's family and let him post that position too fast. So we'll probably post that next week, and hopefully we'll get some response to it. That'll cover Comfort Station and Bicentennial Park for the weekends and big events like parades and those type of things. He used to work there.
As part of Gary's family, it's okay. Go ahead and post it. It's not going to tread on anything. So.
Okay. Anything else, Scott?
No.
Okay. The assistant director report, Tanya.
Yeah, you should have right there in front of you the new senior newsletter for September and October. That's really your update for the senior center. Things are moving well. We continue to see new people in all the time. Brett is doing wonderful over there, the new coordinator. And there's a lot of programs and activities in there for you to check out. Event update. You also have in front of you a sheet. It's not in the packet. I laid it just right in front of your packet of some changes to the past Halloween festival, which is now a harvest festival. Details there. We did get Vaughn Drive closed through the Board of Works from Bicentennial Park, well, from Broadway to Vaughn Drive, Ferry Street, sorry, Vaughn Drive, from Ferry Street to Broadway. And we're going to have hay rides and train rides on Vaughn Drive between Bicentennial Park and the campground. They are working with us for that event, and we'll have different activities at each of those locations there.
That's good.
And then we do what?
I said that's good.
Yeah, be a lot of fun.
I've been to campgrounds before where they, tie in the campground with Halloween festivities.
They already were doing trick or treat. It was just a different time from what we used to do. So we coordinated the times that they'll be working together, and we can do the hay rides back and forth. I think the kids will love that.
Yep.
We've got 3 skate nights left for the year: September 6th, November 1st, which is going to be a Monster Mash theme, and then December 31st, we've got a New Year's Eve skate planned, so that one will go to midnight. There's 2 movies left in the park, October 4th, and then October 26th. We added, one of the movies got rained out during regatta, so we were able to move that and not lose the fee, and we're going to do that movie after the Harvest Festival. And then we've got a father-daughter dance and a mother-son dance on November 15th and 16th at Hunter Hall. We haven't put a lot of advertising out for that yet. It'll be coming soon. And then the Christmas parade, we did leave.
You hit your mic.
Sorry. Saturday, December 7th at 11 a.m. Any questions on events? All of those costs for events we get covered with sponsorships. We really don't spend any budget and money on any of that. We'll we'll move on to the campground financials, and that is in your packet. And it's pretty self-explanatory about the year-to-date net revenue this year, and then it shows last year's as well. I'll let you look at that and see if you have any questions, but I will say we are up quite a bit from last year, and Doug and Georgia do a phenomenal job of customer service and reaching out to fill those spaces that aren't filled on the peak weekends. Just very hospitable. We've got so many good reviews back from people using the campground. And
Is that a big part of why it's 40,000 more than last year because of the way they're marketing it, or?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't know of anything different.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with that. They've come up with a lot of really good ideas on trying to fill days that normally are vacant, trying to do more packages, play and stay type of thing. So they've been really much more, thank you, proactive in trying to figure out how to bring revenue in, which has been great. So they've got a lot more ideas that we have to balance between future plans, but I would love to see us at 50%. The revenue we would generate at 50% would be phenomenal. So we have to start figuring out how to get the campground to the point where we can renovate it and get sewer hookups and spend some money down there so we can really start generating a lot more revenue. I think it would be really big.
$40,000 more is a good start.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. Director's report, Scott.
Quick update on Crystal Beach. I'll get into some numbers in just a little bit. We've had a flurry of activities over the last week and a half or so. On the 24th, we had a 21-plus swim party. I think it was great. We had about 100 people show up. The event itself brought in about $4,000 in revenue for a couple hours. So big event. I think a lot of people had a lot of fun. It was a good night. It was hot and good crowd, so that was very, very good. We had law enforcement appreciation night, first responders last Friday. I think that was a good turnout. And then last night we had our dog day of summer. We had 91 paid entries, so we had a bunch of dogs down there last night. It was a lot of fun. We raised $446 for the animal shelter from last night's event. So I can see that really growing next year and getting bigger and bigger. So that was a fun event last night. It was pretty cool. So it was a good time. Moving into financial updates, I've got Sunrise be the first thing we look at. Year to date, we are up about $30,407 revenue over expenses. That's slightly down from last year's number at this time. If you look right below the bottom half of the summary sheet, you'll see that cart fees, we've finally gone positive compared to last year. We're up $1,600 there. Green fees were up $6,700. Food and beverage were up $11,000. And then the annual passes is the number that we're down. We're down about $15,500. We sold about $25,000 early last year in December, and we'll sell again early this year. So I expect to close that gap this year by the end of the year. So we've got to hold tight with expenses to make sure we're not getting too crazy. And typically the last, basically September and October, historically have been about $40,000 a month in revenue. So hopefully that'll hold true this year as well, and that'll help us. We have had a couple events that we have not had money deposited yet, so that money will come in September's report, even though it was held in August.
How many early passes did we sell last year, or how much was the revenue?
The revenue for annual passes last year was $95,000.
Oh, just the early ones. So you said you want to make up
Oh,
the
I think
difference.
we had about $25,000 in early passes.
Okay, well,
So
if we get close
if we
to
match
that.
that, then I think we'll be doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll actually get ahead of last year. So fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll get there. Any questions about Sunrise?
Well, no questions. I don't, there was hand wringing about some issues, but it sounds like that, some of the, is there anything you want to discuss publicly?
Yeah, I mean, we
Address
can.
some-
Golf board met last week. We talked about rates. We're reviewing rates for next year. I'm doing a little bit of work, a little bit of math. I haven't gotten that to the golf board yet for them to review and hand off. That'll be part of the package when we do rates and policies for next year. October, plan on doing a lot of that work to approve those. I think we've got to advertise them 3 times before we can actually start charging. So we've got a lot of work to do between now and the end of the year to get those rates for next year. Carla has some ideas on rates. I've got ideas on rates. And if you all have any ideas, please communicate to me over the next month. Review that packet I got to you last park board meeting and make comments on that if there's anything you think we should change or adjust. So next meeting will be kind of a final draft, and we can look at that and see how everybody feels about it.
So I will say this, over the course of the last couple years, and I know a couple times within this last year, discussing the rates at the golf board has come up a couple times. We're pretty much all in agreement that rates should kind of come up slowly and incrementally to sort of offset the cost, especially with inflation, and just to make sure that we're staying where we need to be so we don't stay at a level to where we start to get underwater and then have to almost shock everybody back with a higher rate. So I think that's partially the goal. I don't know what everybody's number is. I've seen stuff floating around, slight increases like $50 or something, I think, for like an annual membership pass. But our rates are still really fair. I was at Valley View yesterday, as a matter of fact, and they had their annual rates, which is the course of New Albany, if you don't know. They have their annual rates posted on their golf carts, and so like a single member, which doesn't include any carts either, is over $1,300 at Valley View. So whatever we decide, I still think is going to be pretty fair.
Yeah, I would agree.
I will say also, I don't know if we're keeping it under wraps how much, but we have been discussing new golf carts as well, how to improve our fleet in general, numbers and new ones. And I saw a prototype today that was really exciting. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, it's the chicken and the egg. We need to increase revenue in order to get the golf carts, and we need golf carts in order to increase revenue. So we've got to figure out how to do that financially. Not having enough operating golf carts hurts us when it comes to events. It hurts us when it comes to school events, especially spectator carts. Right now we do a pass-through service on spectator carts where we charge what we rent them for, and we're limited on the numbers that we can rent them for. So if we can get more carts, then we can rent our own, and that'll all be a positive revenue source versus a pass-through. So there's ways for us to improve our revenue at the golf course, including we need to do a lot more leagues than we do now. We need to do a lot more events we need to do now. We need to do more food service opportunities such as happy hours and events. And so we've hired a person. I kind of call it a hospitality manager, food and beverage manager, and she will be responsible for managing that side of the golf course to help drive revenue, reduce costs with staffing, and making sure we're just a little bit more streamlined up there. So we're looking forward to her starting up there probably in a couple weeks and getting ready for next year.
So to to piggyback off his comment, so to sort of understand the lost revenue we're losing on the carts. So if we've got 33 working carts in the fleet, and we have a big event like an invitational or a sectional that's coming up, and we can only rent out 33, but we have 100 people that want to rent out carts. You can just do the math. That's $2,000 that we could be losing if we had a much larger fleet just for one day. And that's just one event. Not to mention the times where if all the carts are out and it's the busy season and we don't have any carts available to offer to the public, then Roger has to start blocking off times until he can get those carts back. And then we're losing revenue from people playing. And then who's to say those people will come back because we told them no, they can't play at that time. So we need some carts.
What's the total number of cards up there now?
33. My number is 60. I think we should have 60 cards. I think other people think it's 45, but I don't think 45 gives us an appreciable difference than what we have now. So we're looking at, I've talked with EasyGo and we're working with Club Car to get pricing to see what those numbers are, or whether it's gas or lead acid batteries or lithium. We're pricing all that and pricing options. We're going to have supposed to be a sample cart at the next golf board meeting at the end of the month, but Jake said there was one there today, so I need to contact my guy and find out where our wires are crossed. And he just may have been in the area and stopped by. So we're looking at pricing. They'll be leased, they won't be purchased. He's already been up and looked at our existing fleet for a trade-in value of our existing fleet. So there's a few different ways to peel the onion, and we just got to figure out which is the best way, the most affordable. I'm not a big fan of getting used fleet from anybody because it's usually somebody else's problem that we're going to be inheriting. So we'll just see where the numbers are and what we can afford to do. But I think it's really critical for success next year for the additional revenue for us to figure out how to get some carts in.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Scott?
That's it for Sunrise. For Crystal Beach, you've got Crystal Beach in front of you. Don't be too alarmed by the big negative number for the year-to-date revenues to expenses. As we talked about a little bit earlier, I've identified about $60,000 of expenses that we've had this year, which really were for startup costs. They include the electricity in the concession stand. They include all the plumbing in the concession stand. They include the Wi-Fi network that wasn't part of the construction cost, and a bunch of just normal, typical startup costs that are not repeatable expenses. We also have about $35,000 in chemical inventory left at the end of the season, which we won't have to purchase next year. So that'll help our cost next year as well. So that cost is also included in here. And what also is not included here on the revenue side is we don't have any program dollars plugged in here yet for revenue, and that would be swim lessons, water aerobics, those kinds of programs. We also don't have the SNAP WIC commitment from Bethany Legacy Foundation in here, nor do we have the Jane's Kids commitment for some of the scholarships that they had. So in October, when we do the report, it'll be a complete and total report of everything. I'll break out all those items that should be a construction-related cost and drop those below the line so we can really look and see what our operating costs were and our operating revenues were. We've talked about trying to figure out a different way to pay for those, not through our operating budget, because they really shouldn't be paid through our operating budget. But I'll break those out and drop those below the line so we can really see what our true costs were. Of course, easily our biggest cost was labor by far. I'm going to work on a matrix for staffing next year that is a little bit tighter than what we had this year. We're not going to be hurting as far as making sure we have coverage and we have all the options we had this year, but we're also not going to be fat with the staffing that we had and had people standing around when we could have had less people there. So I think the concession stand was probably staffed fairly well. That really surprised me this year, how incredibly busy that place was. I'll have detailed numbers for you at the next meeting about just the quantity of things that we've sold. And so that was a huge surprise to me, just the amount of money that we spent purchasing food and beverages there, as well as the amount of money we made at the concession stand. It was pretty impressive. So this is just a very quick snapshot in time. This again does not include the last 2 days or the first 2 days of September. which were actually very good days for us. I think we had about $6,000 in revenue for those last 2 days that we were open. That'll be reflected again. I guess it's on here too. 6490s will be brought in for Sunday and Monday. So 2 pretty good days to finish the pool out. So overall, I think just a real quick summary. I think we had a fantastic year at the pool this year. I think we had a lot of very, very happy people. I don't think there was a lot that we really did that was bad. I think we had a lot of very, very good experiences. We're already working on different programming and adjustments to programming for next year, which I think will be an improvement and capture more revenue with more programming, which I think has been a huge hit this year. So we've already started planning for next year. We already started thinking about next year. So over the course of the next 5 or 6 months, we'll get things lined up and in order. I hope to be able to sell pool passes early, maybe February next year, maybe early March, depending on where we are with our hardware. But we're going to try and push that a little bit earlier this year or for next year. And overall, I think it was just a great summer at Crystal Beach, and had a lot of positive response from people. So it was a good year.
Good. That's good to hear. The pool seemed very positive in the community too.
Yep.
Any questions or anything else, Scott?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on. Any comments from the public? Okay. Our next meeting will be Monday, October 7th at 5 p.m. With no further business, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
You guys did a great job on that tonight.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.